Okay, so we're going to start the demo on diffusion and osmosis. So we have this form to fill out as we go, so just keep that in mind. I'm going to do my best to film this. I do not have a tripod or anything, so bear with me. All right, so we start with a beaker of water. Some things that we'll be using today: beaker of water, iodine. We have 2 glucose test strips. We have liquid glucose mixed with water, so glucose and water. And we have liquid starch, which is starch and water. And we will be using dialysis tubing, which is a synthetic membrane. Okay, it's very plasticky, you can probably hear it. But we will be wetting this to soften it up, and we will be using that. Okay. So what we're going to do next is we are going to take our iodine and we are going to put it into our cup of water to make this look like very, like tea. Okay. We will then test this for the presence of glucose. So right now it's just iodine and water. So we should not have any glucose in here. So here is our test strip. You can see that it is blue. Okay, this is going to test for the presence of glucose. So we're going to dip it in here, and we'll see that it has stayed blue. So the color of our first test strip is blue, indicating that there is no glucose present in our liquid in the cup. So we're going to keep this here on the side so we could use it to compare later. Okay. I am then going to take the membrane here, soften it up, and we're going to tie the end off so that it looks like a bag. We will then put the starch and the glucose in it, and I've already done it to save some time. So it looks like this. So in this membrane, we have glucose and we have starch. And I'm going to place this in the bag, or in the beaker like this. All right? So our setup right now, I have it kind of drawn out for us. In the beaker, we started with iodine and water. In the bag, we have water, we have starch, and we have glucose, right? So that's our setup as of right now. That's where we start. So now we're looking, and your next question asks, did you observe any visible change in the liquid inside the cup after step 9? Step 9 is technically placing the bag within the beaker. So the liquid inside the cup, did it change? No, it didn't. So B, you don't have to answer because your answer was no. Question 3 asks, did you observe any visible change in the liquid inside the membrane after step 9? So our membrane is sitting here, and we're lifting it out. Do we see any change? Not yet. So we're going to let it sit for a couple more minutes. Check back in a couple minutes. Okay, so the bag has been sitting here for a couple minutes now. If we lift it out, you could see the bottom here, it's starting to turn purple. And the cool thing is that in the presence of iodine, starch turns purple. So if we look back over here at our chart, okay, we have iodine in the cup and we had starch in the bag, okay? So somehow the iodine and the starch are interacting and the starch is turning purple, okay? So somehow the iodine is moving into the bag, and somehow would be diffusion, guys. It's moving because of diffusion. Okay. So the question, did you observe any visible change in the liquid inside the membrane? Yes, you did. And then B, you have to describe what you've seen. Okay. 4 asks, what is the color of the second glucose test strip? So here we have another one. You can see it's blue. It looks just like the one we used. We're going to dip this in and see if we have a color change. Okay, so that's what it looks like. Let's compare them. Okay, do you see a color change? I do. Okay. Okay. The color looks like it is green. Hopefully you agree with me. So is glucose present? We had a color change that indicates yes. Indicates yes. Question 5A, did the iodine pass through the membrane? So did the iodine go from the cup into the membrane? Well, because the iodine and the starch are interacting, What do you think? Okay. How is it proven? How do you know if the iodine passed through or not? 6 is asking, did the starch pass through the membrane? So did the starch move from the bag into the cup? How do you know if it did or it didn't? 7 asks if the glucose moved. How is it proven? Use the results of your test strips to answer. And 8 is saying, although undetected, the substance that diffused through the semi-permeable membrane by osmosis would be what? So check out your vocab for the answer to that. That is the end of our demo. Check out how purple this is turning. The longer it sits, the darker it will turn. Okay. We have one here that we did the other day in class, just to show you how dark it can get if we were to leave it. So use this video to answer your questions, front and back. Side note, when you see here the word Lugol's, that's a fancy word for iodine. So keep that in mind when you're filling this out. If you have any questions, let me know.